Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening, on a day where we've just landed on Mars. Well, we haven't, but they've landed a robot of sorts on Mars. Time for another intellectual pursuit, of course. I mean the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. We're back with our post-election, post-draft podcast. We could have gone to schoolies at Byron, but instead we've decided to do this today, just for you, our loyal listeners. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here he is, straight off the rookie list, Titus O'Reilly.
I like how you're pretending we're not at schoolies.
We got ran out of town real quick.
Oh God! It's just the. I like how they can just roll the same stories out every year
and the same vision. It doesn't change.
No.
There's apart from the drunkenness and the fighting, there's always the pissed bloke on the balcony about to fall to his death.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't fall to his death, well, then he can run the vision. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
If he does, well, then it's a bit tragic.
If he does, someone's like, "Damn it, can't use this now."
We can't use this now. You know,
we'll
just keep this for the Christmas tape.
We should announce something you've been working away on with your producer's hat on.
Oh, chipping away.
You've got details. We promised it, and unlike normally, we not only promised it, we're actually delivering.
We may well deliver. It still remains to be seen. It's still 9 days away. That is, we're going to do a live recording of the podcast. We're going to do probably the final one for the year. We're going to deconstruct 2018 like a ham sandwich at a North Fitzroy, bakery. So we're going to go through the year. A live podcast recording next Thursday night, the 6th of December. Not this week, but next Thursday, the 6th, at the Commercial Club Hotel in Nicholson Street, Fitzroy.
Good footy pub.
Yeah, great footy pub. It's going to be a good night. It's not going to be massive, but we're going to have everyone is going to be there. Bring your questions, have a few beers, and whoever asks the best question on the night may well get a bucket of Coronas, courtesy of us. So, yeah, live podcast recording Thursday the 6th at the Commercial Club in Fitzroy.
And I think it's tickets on the door?
Tickets on the door for $10. Cheap at half the price.
This is a cheap and cheerful end of the year
Absolutely.
thing.
It's our gift to you.
And we'll hang around, have a beer with people and stuff, so it should be fun. So... both of the people who will come.
Yeah. It could be a cheap shout.
That's right. So we'll see you there. So that's it's Thursday the 6th of December. Yeah. So perfect end of year. So yeah, tickets on the door. So and it's not a huge venue. So
be early to avoid disappointment. And because it is our Christmas party, our H&R people will be there in force just to make sure nothing gets out of hand.
Just watching you, basically. They're making you wear a GoPro to stop last year's problems. We should start off by congratulating the Southern Stars, the Australian women's cricket team, the real cricket team, for winning the World Cup.
I'll tell you, I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not saying this for effect, but they are the only cricket team I actually enjoy watching at the moment.
Well, I found the tournament really fun to watch, the whole thing, you know. It was entertaining, and
they can genuinely play. It was a good competition. And
it was entertaining on its own, even without the contrast to the state of the men's game.
Yeah.
But the state of the men's game just highlighted even more. And it shows you that, this thing of, the Australian men's team saying, we were under enormous pressure to win, therefore that's why we behaved like we did. It's like, well, hang on. There's plenty of others that don't do that.
The Southern Stars, they were sort of under the pump to win again as well. And
well, they fielded not well in the final.
No, they didn't.
Could have. They had England out for, what was it, 97, wasn't it?
Or 105?
105, sorry.
Yeah.
105.
Yeah, just over 100, yeah.
And they could have had them out for about 60.
Yeah, there was drop catches, missed run-outs. And
4 drop catches, they had overthrows, and they had a few missed run-outs, but a couple were seriously very close. But the bowling was great. They had Wareham was on a hat-trick at one point, so that was pretty good. And then Healy came out and had scored 22 off 20 balls, which that's her lowest score of the tournament.
Yeah.
She just belted.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
Then Meg Lanning, who she guided them home.
She's a superstar.
28. 28 runs, and Gardner hit 3 sixes in her innings of 33. So it was basically, actually, you felt almost pretty early on, once the wickets started coming, you felt Australia were on top, and then once they got a good start,
yeah,
it was pretty away.
105 wasn't a huge score for England to defend, so there was always the thought that Australia was going to win. But they got the job done, with, as you say, with a minimum of fuss and not too much carry on.
And it was easy to watch. People could actually watch it too, which was great. A crate man from Bendigo, I guess he puts that in so we don't,
confuse him with
like crate man of Ballarat.
Yes, or crate man of the Northern Rivers.
He said, what is the likelihood the Australian women's team would do a better job against India this summer than the Australian men's team? I think the likelihood here is, more. I look at it as there's not many groups that wouldn't do a worse job.
Yeah, I don't think you could suggest they'll probably do a better job,
but they wouldn't do
they
worse.
Certainly wouldn't do any worse. I mean, even if they get beaten in every test,
do you think
will the men probably?
Do you think it's going to be that brutal, or do you think
no, Australia will do okay, just okay. But
I mean, because we are at home, so you'd expect us to. And Indians not
you would.
But we're also not playing like we're not doing. I'm trying to remember I looked this up the other day and I've completely forgotten, but it's not the normal start in Brisbane, go to Perth.
No, I mean...
They've changed the order, which I don't get, because that was always such a great start for us. Like, it's hard to beat them in Brisbane, then you go to Perth and it's hot and we bounce them.
And then it's, actually Boxing Day and then Sydney.
Yeah.
And then Adelaide to finish up.
Yeah, by the time spinners get involved, it's usually over.
3-1 up by that stage.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember what the actual order is this time.
Not like Cricket Australia to be idiots when it comes to something.
No, because their recent track record is so good on just about every level. Where we're going to struggle is, without trying to analyse the batting, the bowling, the whole thing, we just don't have a Virat Kohli. He's not only the best batsman in the world, he's in a fair bit of form at the minute.
With Steve Smith.
Yeah, but... yeah.
The problem's been for quite some time, really.
Greg Chappell, 30 years ago, but yeah.
The problem we've got... Yeah, our ability to collapse is elite. With elite honesty, I say that. It is just unbelievable. Like the amount of times we just collapse.
Yeah.
And even when Warner and Smith were playing, how often did Smith have to save the side?
Yeah, so often, they'd come in. Yeah, even if Warner got them off to a start, they'd suddenly go from say 2 for 100, which is fine, to 5 for 108 or something, which is not fine. And Smith would have to save them. But at this stage, you always look at when the team's batting, think, if they were to lose 2 quick wickets, how does the score look then? But this Australian team now, you're always fearful they could lose 3 or 4 quick wickets in 2 overs. Then the game is completely turned on its ear.
Well, there's just quite a few players where, they either score 100 or they score 3.
Yeah.
They don't consistently just maybe get like, it's not like a bad innings for them is 30.
Yeah.
A bad innings is like single figures, if not out for a duck. So it's just these, they occasionally go on and score really well, but their ability to just consistently sort of be around the 30 to 40 mark, is just non-existent. They just go out regularly for just insane.
And there's still so many guys who get to play for Australia because of the 3 different, matches, like, the tests, the one-dayers and the T20. Yeah. There's still no consistency there, and you still don't know who all the players are. Still haven't heard half of them.
Well, but also at state level, since Pat Howard in his infinite wisdom had basically gutted what was the system that delivered Australia ongoing test
potential
success
test players
forever. You look now, there's not, we complain about the Marsh has always been selected, and rightly so in a way, but then you look further around, you go, well, I don't see it. No one else is really putting their hand up at Shield level or at other levels.
Exactly.
They're not given the time.
Every time we whinge about the Marshes, they do go back a level and both make 100. And they say, well, that's why they're in the test team.
That's right.
So
we just basically don't have enough players that can perform at
not enough Marshes to go around.
At test level. Yeah. That's our problem.
Yeah, it seems fairly simple when you put it that way.
Nick C asked, how did the Australian women's cricket team win the World T20 without elite honesty as one of their core values?
Gee, they didn't have elite honesty forced down their throat, did they? But I think maybe
they had elite cricket,
elite effort, elite cricket,
ability,
elite ability will, always override elite honesty.
So well done to Southern Stars. I watched every single game of that, and I really enjoyed it. And a bit sad when it was all over, but always good to beat England too.
Of course it is.
And in anything.
Just while we're on women's sport, I don't know if we're planning to mention it, but even the women's soccer team, the Matildas.
Yeah.
How good are they going at the minute? Sam Kerr.
Did you see her goal for Perth Glory?
Hey, yeah, I did. And you know what? It wasn't until I saw the replay of that goal that I realised that she was Daniel Kerr's sister. I had no idea. I had no idea. I just thought Sam Kerr was Sam Kerr.
Oh, really?
So now Daniel Kerr is actually Sam Kerr's brother.
That's right. So I like. This is the sporting analysis people can expect at the live podcast where you've just discovered that out. Everyone listening knew that.
I know. I'm the last
ago.
bloke in Australia to know that. But gee, she's a good player. I could watch her all day.
Oh, terrific. AFL Draft. Sean has asked, is the AFL Draft still going? Did you watch any of it?
I did.
You say that like you're angry, like it's like when someone's made a huge mistake.
Sort of said it resentfully, didn't I?
It's like someone's who accidentally ordered KFC sober and then realised how much it lets you down.
Yeah, well, I did watch it on the Thursday night, and gee, it dragged on, but you sort of half expected that. The only thing that let me down, I guess, as a viewer on Thursday night is that the so-called live swapping and trading. It happened when Carlton did the one to take Liam Stocker at 19, but it didn't really have much effect on the top 20, as you got to say.
But the thing about this, right, is so a lot of people said, it went on a long time and it was boring.
Yeah.
And it is. Like, there's no doubt of that.
But it always is.
But the draft is really an administrative process.
Yeah.
It's an administrative process of, how to pick.
Yeah.
How to divide up the next crop of players in a roughly fair manner. So it's not meant to be exciting. It is. It's like saying, it's like putting a camera on a bunch of people in accounts, finishing the end of month figures, and then going, gee, this is boring.
It's a pretty dull Christmas party.
Everyone's like, why do they need 5 minutes in between every pick? And you're like, because, you get a pick wrong, and for years you're deciding about it. And if you get it right, it can mean.
Well, that's right. They're not just deciding on a kid's future. They're deciding on the potential future of their club and the potential future of their very own job. In a lot of cases, and
you can understand that if, look, the number one pick, they're going to know. Number two probably, assuming. But you just need one pick to pick someone that no one else has expected, and they suddenly have to make a decision.
Well, Melbourne did that to other clubs a couple of years ago when they picked Clayton Oliver.
Yeah, that's right. It mucks up.
Nobody was expecting that to happen.
No, so
and that threw other clubs right.
What a disaster that's been.
Yeah, it's been magnificent for Melbourne. But people were saying Thursday night, this is more boring than the Brownlow, and I'm thinking, well, of course it is. At least
it's not that. It's not. It's about the same, I would have said.
Yeah, but at least at the Brownlow they can show the highlights of each round. But here, when you see highlights of a 16-year-old playing for the Oakley Chargers over and over, it's not quite the same as seeing an Eddie Betts highlights package.
That's right. I mean, the problem is that the AFL's pretending this is an entertainment thing when it, really it's not. It's administration.
So that was
paperwork.
Did you watch Fridays?
Oh, I had it on the background, but to be honest, I got sick of it. And the thing too is, Bill Burr has a great joke about the NFL draft.
Yeah.
He says, you're watching the draft. It's like watching it's like watching a graduation where you don't know any of the people.
Yeah.
Like people,
exactly.
and the way people respond on both social media and I know there is a small percentage of people that actually will have gone to some of the games and watched these players, but the majority of people have no clue.
No idea.
And I put myself very much in that category. So you hear all these people going, not sure about this pick, and didn't we need a tall? And you're going, mate,
you've got no idea.
Just admit we all have no idea.
Yeah.
There are a few people who have actually watched it and actually have seen these players play a bit.
Well, I saw the King twins play a fair bit.
Did you?
Last couple of years.
Yeah.
And
are they elite?
Well, it remains to be seen. I mean, they're certainly tall. And
were they good though?
They just dominated that head and shoulders, like literally.
Who were they playing for?
For Haileybury College.
Oh, right,
in the APS. And then Big Max, he did his ACL in the first. He was playing at full forward in the first quarter of the first match of the season. And so they immediately moved his brother Ben from centre half back to full forward to cover for him.
Yeah.
And he kicked 8 in the next 2.5 quarters. So they can both go a bit.
Right.
And that's what, as you say, that's what makes it interesting. I now have some interest in seeing how these two kids go next season. But they're the only ones. The rest, I wouldn't have the faintest idea.
But the thing that they keep trying to recreate the NFL excitement of the NFL draft. Not to mention the NFL draft, often teams get it wrong anyway. So the idea we all know. But at least with the NFL, if you're into American football, you've watched a lot of them play at college level.
Yeah,
they're a bit older. Same with the NBA, and NBA has a much bigger. If you get the number one pick and they're a gun in the NBA, it can turn your whole team around.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you get, but in the AFL, even if like Gold Coast have suddenly got 4 of the sort of best, under 20 players in the nation, right? It's going to make no difference to how good they are next year. No.
And same with Carlton, they've got Sam Walsh. He's certainly not going to turn around a shocking team into a good team.
No, and you shouldn't expect them to. Like that's, I mean, occasionally you get a player who just hits the ground running. Like Oliver's been arguably like that. Patrick Cripps, they're ahead of their Judd. Probably
Stevenson was good this year.
Yeah, so there's a few like that where you go, oh, okay, can make a bit of a difference, but it's such a team sport, it doesn't have the impact. So it was kind of interesting the way it is, but it is just it's the draft.
Yeah, and
it's boring.
In answer to your question, Sean, it is over. But it feels like it's still going.
The AFLX, the AFL have come out and announced, stomping on years of tradition, or a year of tradition,
12 months of
that they're going to overhaul the whole concept.
Yeah, cool. Well, it needed it.
This is like overhaul.
Everyone's been crying out for an overhaul of AFLX.
This is like, finding out that the virus you've got's mutated. You're not thrilled you've still got the virus. It's like, I didn't want it in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And now you tell me it's a flesh-eating disease. It's not the icing on the cake.
So AFLX, the overhaul that they're looking, and they've presented this to the AFL club CEOs just before the draft, is the proposal will be that there will be one night of AFLX instead of the 3 they had last year.
Yeah.
And that it'll be about just under a week ahead of the first JLT Community Series matches start, and it will be on a night the AFLW is not on, and it will have 4 teams which will all be captained by superstars of the game. Now, the way they've sort of framed that was their initial suggestion was Nat Fyfe, Buddy Franklin,
Dangerfield
and Dustin Martin.
And Dustin,
Now, and the idea would be they would all pick their teams. It would be like schoolyard, I pick so-and-so, I pick so-and-so. Now, they've also said each club would only have to put up 4 players to that pool to be selected from. So they don't, they can't just pick everyone, obviously. And I note that Buddy's now gone for a bit of surgery almost within minutes of them announcing that they were thinking about this. What do you think of this?
Well, the 4
new
captains,
idea?
They've already said they'll get paid $50,000 each to be captain.
Yeah, which the AFLW must be thrilled.
Yeah,
there's no money for their comp, but
But he's $200,000 to 4 millionaires for one night, and it's not even footy. It's a glorified circle work training run.
Yeah.
But how do you reckon they're going to go? Who are the 4 players going to be put up by each club? Would you say numbers 39 to 43 on their list, perhaps?
Well, I had a couple of clubs say to me that when I asked them sort of what did they actually think of it, they just said, look, they thought it didn't seem to have too many injuries, so that was good. So they just used it to get K's into the legs of some of the younger players, or some of the more senior ones that were coming back from an injury or something. But that was it. Right. Like they saw no value in it. They had no interest in it.
Do you reckon the public will have any interest in it? In going?
Look, to me, there's always a group that will go to anything.
True.
You know, like,
and it is Melbourne.
So, you know, and I get, you know, if you're looking for something to do with the kids, I can understand why people go, oh, we'll go to this. But, you know, realistically, like, people pick up that a sport is either pointless or not. Like, there is no point to AFLX.
No.
Like, it doesn't have anything that you go, or, you know, I mean, people actively joke about if you won an AFLX premiership. Yeah. You know, that they joke about it.
The great thing is people were joking about AFLX before they'd even played AFLX.
Yeah, and then actually watching it, I expected to hate it because I just thought it was a point. Now I look at it and I was just like, when I watched it, it was just disinterest. Yeah. Like, I was just like...
Oh, so who cares?
It's like you say, this is like watching a bit of a training drill.
Yeah.
And so
the players are skillful enough to play keep things off.
I switched it up overall because I was bored. Yeah. It wasn't because I was like... I didn't hate it enough to keep watching it.
Bit of curiosity to start, but what do you reckon is the AFL's end game for AFLX? Are they going to try and then take it to the world?
I think this is an idea. I think this is an idea that's only ever had any currency in the AFL house. Yeah, in AFL house. That has never had any interest from the clubs.
In somebody's office with a big whiteboard.
Well, I think they've kind of convinced themselves they needed it, but I think no one in any of the clubs, no fans and no players of any critical mass have any interest in it. No. And when you try and force a top-down thing on the rest of people who just don't care, I can't see it lasting another year after this. No, it would only last if either I'm completely wrong and the public just massively like react to it like it's amazing.
40,000 people there, yeah.
Or you know, like it's a sellout or something. But, you know, otherwise I just go, my problem with it all along is there's so many things they need to focus on in the game, in just the normal game that everyone likes. Get the AFLW right, get Gold Coast and GWS right, get some of the scheduling issues right, a bunch of other things. Why are you focused? Why introduce something else that you're going to take resources and focus to?
Yeah,
that's the thing I've never understood.
No, but they'll never listen.
No, they
will never listen. They don't care.
Tyson Goldsack and Levi Greenwood were doing a charity event up in the Northern Territory, and it ended in a fight. Now, it seems that it wasn't... They weren't involved directly in the fight, but they'd done a white ribbon football competition and a family day, and they were talking to ex-AFL player Nathan Jacura. He was talking to them and a fight broke out. It was at the Walkabout Tavern. It's a top-end topless bar.
Is a top-end topless bar the ideal place to be doing a white ribbon event?
I think this was after the white ribbon.
Okay, so a different venue.
And who would have thought that a top-end topless bar would be the sort of place to have brawls occur?
You know, you mix up a topless bar with plenty of grog and ex-footballers. That's just thrown me completely, that.
Apparently the Walkabout Tavern, it's a popular and centrally located licensed venue. But in the back part of the tavern, the barmaids often serve beer topless. Right. And that usually attracts the most attention, you'd be surprised to learn, Serge. Now, we don't know if this occurred in the back bit or the front bit, where I assume clothing is worn. So apparently this fight, from reading the story I thought was interesting. I read this whole story thinking, well, this sounds like an interesting story. Yeah. And then basically when reading it all, it sounded a bit like Nathan had sort of had a bit of a blue with these two. But then when you dig into it, it seems like they were just there.
Yeah, they happened
to be broke out.
In your classic wrong place at the wrong time, but even though they had nothing to do with the actual fight. And it sounds like, too, that Goldsack and Greenwood, as soon as they saw that there was fisticuffs
they were smart
going
enough
on,
to go.
They're gone, we're out of here. Even though they're 1,000 kilometres east of Darwin at a pub, it's still, I'd rather hitchhike home from here or get an Uber than watch this.
Get an Uber from the Northern Territory.
1,000 k's back to Darwin.
Dread Pirate Roberts wrote in, after his confrontation with Tyson Goldsack and Levi Greenwood, was I wrong to state that Nathan Jacura couldn't win a kick in a street fight?
Well, there's a couple of assumptions there, Dread Pirate. And I think also, I don't think he really had a confrontation with Goldsack and Greenwood.
Well, they were sort of suggesting that was it, and then it sort of seemed like you don't know. So it sounded like he was just being a goose.
Yeah. So there's 3 AFL players there, 2 current ones and 1 former one. And then the former one gets into a blue with a couple of other blokes. Yep. We're assuming the topless end of the pub. And,
It seems a bit of a non-story, really.
It does, but it's 2 Collingwood players, so we may as well
talk about it for 20 minutes.
To use Dread Pirate Roberts' term, put the boot in.
It's always surprising to me, considering how much AFL players go to pubs and nightclubs, how little trouble as a percentage they actually get into.
Do you ever go to the tunnel back in the day?
Well, that was before mobile phones had cameras.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you imagine
That's before
that
they
now?
had mobile phones.
That's right. And there wasn't rules.
If you wanted to, keep a visual record of what happened, you needed one of those Kodak disposables and had to take it to the chemist the next day.
Talking of real trouble, Jared Hayne is in a fair bit of trouble at the moment. New details keep coming out about this alleged sexual assault. Now, he's got one on foot in California.
Yeah.
And he's got one in Sydney now.
Going into hideous detail. Every new detail that comes out seems to be worse than the one before.
Well, he was meant to have head out in the early hours of the morning to a woman's house where the alleged aggravated sexual assault occurred. He left the taxi running out the front, then left.
So he was obviously
didn't
think he was going to be there too long.
Yeah, and then was out drinking later that morning, because it was Sunday morning at 3 a.m. in the morning on a Monday morning.
And this was
at
grand
the
final
Marylands
night, wasn't
Bowling Club, which he was not playing.
Do they have a topless bit out the back?
That's right. This is kind of interesting that the NRL, we've talked about this before. They've got already have, I think it's 4 because one of them left. They had 5 earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Players that have been found guilty or pleaded guilty to domestic violence or violence against women.
Yeah.
And then you have this come along. Now, this is alleged at the moment, but I'm looking forward to how poorly the NRL are going to handle this because they've got no track record of any. They never have stood tough on any of these issues.
Never. And in this case, the Jared Hayne case, they're doing that one that big organisations do all the time. So because it's in front of the courts or it's an ongoing investigation, we cannot comment.
I don't have a problem with that to a point, but it gets in this interesting thing.
That's what I'm saying. That's going to run out at some point.
Also, he's not signed with someone at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're not currently in season. So if this had come out, round 3, would they stand him down while it was sorted out?
Well,
would they insist? And this is where the NRL have just always and I am picking on the NRL because the other codes don't have this issue.
Yeah.
What I mean is by that is I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the other codes, but they don't currently have the record on the current players.
No.
They don't have anyone that's in that. They don't have that record of any players who've pleaded guilty or been found guilty. Now that's not to say that there aren't cases out there or they won't come out, but the NRL have got cases and they've let these players back every single time.
Yeah, and even I can't remember his name. Who's the bloke who is still fighting that charge from New York? Where
he's sorted that at Matt Lodge. He's come to an agreement now.
So he has sort of come to an agreement and paid them off
finally.
But that was home invasion and aggravated burglary, kidnapping.
They've had players go to jail for family violence after they got out of jail are back in the NRL.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary. So this is just another case. And this might be, it's alleged at this point and it might all be cleaned up or cleared up. And maybe it's, as we say, it's alleged. But, you look at this and it doesn't look good. But also just very interesting in how – I always find it interesting how codes trying to manage this seem to every time. It's not like an immediate stand down if you get accused of this. Now, they say, because it's alleged. But, they sort of have no way – they don't have a policy of – they seem to make it up each individual time it happens rather than have a set thing of if you're charged with something like this, you stood down until it's sorted out.
Yeah.
Or you're not. Like one or the other, but, pick one.
Yeah, they could always come out and say, look, we're sorry, player. But with this instance, this isn't just being found drunk in a nightclub. This is a pretty serious allegation. And so, unfortunately, we're going to go against the general rule of law. And, mate, you're guilty until proven innocent at this point. We're going to stand you down until we find out that either it's not true or you're found okay.
Or you're exonerated.
Or you're exonerated, and then we'll welcome you back. But, sorry, the accusations at this level, mate, that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, and it's not just, I mean, it is accusations, it's alleged, but he has been charged.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's not like
charges,
it's just,
it's
not even just being investigated. The charges have actually been laid, which seems to suggest the police have enough evidence they do think it's worth taking to court.
Yeah. Because, that's the thing you've got to remember in a legal sense that, accusations and things like this, your cops are very, very rarely going to charge you unless they are confident of getting a conviction or that the accused is probably guilty.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not. It doesn't look great for him, but so it'd be interesting to see. What would be interesting to see is if any club signs him.
Yeah.
Because he's currently unsigned. So he played Parramatta again this year, but he could. So with this hanging over his head, it's quite possible just no one signs him.
Yeah.
Because why would you? But in the NRL, I always am amazed at what they will do.
There's always a comeback in the NRL somehow.
Sean wrote in, how good a bloke is Jared Hayne about to be?
Well, he's going to have to be, isn't he? He's going to have to dredge up every ounce of good blokeness that he's sort of kept over the years and put together.
The thing here, though, is there hasn't been a lot of people rushing out to defend him.
Well, no, I mean,
like other players and stuff. It seems to be pretty much like everyone's just laying low on him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to me how much Haynes just kind of going to the point where Channel 7 signed a deal to just broadcast all the NFL games because of him, and he was sort of this Hayne plane on the page. The decline in his, I guess, brand, even before this, has been astounding.
Even if, and without making any assumption, if this goes to court and he is, for whatever reason, found not guilty, the details that will come out in court will just about tan him forever anyway.
You'd imagine,
It might be just time to, for Jared to, pursue his long lost dream of wearing the colours of the New South Wales Corrective Services.
The Wallabies switching rugby codes to union. The Wallabies, of course, finishing off one of the worst years they've ever had, lost to England 37-18.
Yeah.
Now,
how bad? I mean, you're the rugby expert here. I've
always followed rugby union, especially. I've followed both, and I like them both. And it's got to the point. My love affair with union really took a belting when they first didn't award Melbourne a franchise in the Super Rugby and severed Perth, because I thought that was
We've still got the Melbourne Rebels, haven't we?
A little much later, but this was originally.
Yeah, right.
And so I sort of and then I had a few dealings with some of the rugby union people, and you could just tell they just did not care about Melbourne.
No.
They just did not care. And it's become their insular thinking has sort of driven them into this weird position. They've had their worst year ever. They lost to Wales. They've lost to New Zealand a lot. Now they've lost to England. It's
what has caused their downfall?
6 consecutive losses to England now.
Why are they so bad at the actual game?
Well, they had just 4 wins from 13 tests this year. Now, if you look at why they've gotten so bad, I mean, look, there's a lot of reasons. I was up in Sydney talking to a bunch of rugby union people, more grassroots than and they just talk of how there is no connection between the elite level of the game and the grassroots. It's just
that's not uncommon in a number of sports these days.
No, but I think even to a point where they almost run their own completely different race.
Right.
Like the Shoot Shield up in New South Wales gets bigger crowds than the Super Rugby.
Right.
Super Rugby is this international competition that sort of has no doesn't really have the benefits for developing Australian rugby.
So there's no.
It's there for the TV dollars.
General sort of.
No, they're off to South Africa. They're playing 1 in the morning, and no one knows it's been played, or that And there's.
So if you're a gun 14-year-old rugby player, there isn't that natural pathway to get to that Super Rugby
Look, there are,
elite
but there's
level?
just not a lot of the investing of money down into from trickling down.
Right.
Is more the problem. And they've everything you could do wrong, they've done wrong.
Yeah.
The pool of talent is shrinking because after 2003 World Cup, NRL and League and Australian rules football suddenly saw union as a legitimate threat, and so have massively turned up the junior engagement to try and retain as many as humanly possible, and at that young age. So you're just not seeing people entering a lot of that. The disillusion with the Rugby Australia has seen a lot of rugby union people swap over to AFL. Yeah. So there's a lot of the people you meet when you go to a Swans game and you get chatting to them. And
right, who used to follow the whoever's.
Yeah, you'll say, how'd you get into Aussie rules? And they go, oh, well, I was a big rugby union fan, then blah, 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 and they've just got sick of the Waratahs and everything going on. They've moved. Or the kids have moved.
Yeah.
So they've gone with the kids over to the new sport. So it's kind of this weird thing. An example of the kind of mess of Australian rugby, Adam Ashley Cooper and Kurtley Beale, two of the more senior players in the team.
They're probably the only two blokes I could name.
They were sanctioned this week for breaking team protocol. They didn't play against England. Now,
what'd they do?
This is what they did. They had 3 women back to their hotel, to the team hotel, to their room, right? Now, to put this in context, what seemed to come across from everyone agreed with this too is they were over in London. Ashley Cooper's, the women that came were Ashley Cooper's sister-in-law.
Oh, right.
And a couple of her friends.
So it wasn't just the normal 3 chicks
and they had a few drinks and some dinner. And then they were gone by midnight. So it wasn't, so there was no, and they made it very clear, all the, that the suggestion was that they just had these women back as friends to just have a drink and something to eat, and then they left relatively early.
Right.
So there's no, and it's his sister-in-law, so there was no accusation these weren't just women he picked up at a bar. Yeah. There's no hijinks or disgraceful behaviour or running through the hotel hall. That was all it is, right? And the leadership team, as in the players' leadership group or whoever, found out about it, that they'd broken the team rule. So talk about a technicality.
So the team rule is no
women back to your
room
team hotel at any point.
Ever. Right.
And that
could be their problem.
So then they went and took that information. The leadership team of the Wallabies decided to report that to the coach. And the coach decided that the best thing to do was to ban them from the England game. Now you look at that and go, talk about process and procedure over purpose. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are grown adults.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything that's like going, of any note.
This isn't the high school baseball team sneaking the cheerleaders into the dorm.
Yeah, and I can understand, like, Warney tells that story about how he basically couldn't play cricket the next day after a huge night out drinking and bringing a woman home and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And he just didn't sleep and he barely couldn't play the next day. There's no accusation of this being anything like that. Like, it's his sister-in-law and a couple of friends, and they had some drinks and some food, and then the women left before midnight. Like, and it's not the night before the game. It was in the week leading up. Like, and you just go. So anyway, when they played England, all the England players started sledging the Wallabies about being snitchers.
Oh,
the whole
fair
game.
enough. It does make them sound like a bunch of snotty-nosed private school boys.
I know. Wouldn't you just say, look, guys, the rules there, obviously, so we don't have people doing really stupid things, and there have been things like, accusations of sexual assault, or that it's a distraction, or people get boozy and do stupid things. So we're trying to have some rules, but you've broken the rule on a technicality, but not in spirit. So it's a warning.
Yeah, exactly.
Move on. Yeah. But to ban them into it's just saying we are focused on all the wrong things at this club.
Oh, exactly. I mean, you can imagine Cooper going, mate, it's my sister-in-law.
That's right.
and her girlfriends.
And would you prefer, when you think of this situation, would you prefer if they'd stayed out at a pub?
Yeah.
Would that be better?
Yeah.
Because not really. You'd prefer. I mean, it's pretty safe in the hotel room. So you kind of look at it all and just go, that's
it's
just
it's no wonder rugby's in such strife if that's the way they're running the joint.
I also love this thing where there's always been this thing in sport about this fear of having women around. Yeah. You know, so if you let women come back to the hotel room,
it's going to affect our chance of winning or you performing at your best.
Ian Healy said that the men didn't play well in England one year because the wives and girlfriends had attended.
Yeah.
Were on the tour. And you're like, really? This is the, the
implication there is that every male player is so stupid or, incompetent that...
Or it's some distraction.
They're going to be affected by it in a negative way.
So I just thought that was hilarious. Like, what a talk about a nanny state. You can't even have your sister-in-law back to your hotel.
Yeah. They're not the Wallabies, they're the nannies, the Australian nannies.
I tell you what, there might be a few people that would like a rule that they weren't allowed to have their sister-in-law over, though.
Oh, no doubt, but yeah.
Sorry, team rules.
Yeah.
We should say some of the last listeners' questions. Sam Thrunk wrote in, has Cricket Australia finally spotted the flaw in their 6-year TV deal after 2 series of international cricket this season and not a ball seen on free-to-air TV? It's enough to make me miss Mark Nicholas.
Well, Sam, that's less of a question, more of a general statement that not too many people will disagree with.
The only way people have been able to see it, and I've had a few people correct me on Twitter, which I always appreciate, where they've said, I've said, pity this is only available on Foxtel. And they've said, and I do have Foxtel, so I'm not pretending that you can't afford, some people can't afford Foxtel, right? But it's sort of my job, so that's partly why I can do it. And I understand the majority of people can't afford Foxtel because it's actually very expensive considering what you get, to be honest. So it isn't, I don't think it is fair. And I think, secondly, a lot of people have gone, you're misleading, Titus, because you can get it on the Cricket Australia app. You can stream it live on the Cricket Australia app. The only reason you can do that is because Foxtel have not got their app up and running in time. So they were meant to and they haven't. So as a compromise, they've let Cricket Australia keep streaming it until they get it fixed up. So that's a short-term thing. That's not meant to have happened, and it's by a mistake or by a delay, So the reality is you couldn't have seen this.
Seen it anyway.
You could have. You've luckily been able to see these two if you haven't got Foxtel. Yeah. But that's been an anomaly, and it's been because Foxtel didn't get their act together, not because of the way it's meant to be set up. So it does have an impact. The A-League have found this. Like the lack of free-to-air coverage. NBL found it too. Like it's very hard to follow.
Every time somebody goes, free-to-air TV's dead, you go, well, hang on. You don't know how much life it's got left in it until a live sporting event is not on it.
And also, where it would be dead if it was an affordable sporting package. And I know there's that KO that's starting off and a few others I think that's like about $15 a month rather than, Foxtel, you're really paying between 80 and 100 to get all the channels. I think it's 100 and something to get all the channels.
Yeah.
Most people are getting it, a lot are just getting it because of sport. Because to be honest, why else would you get it?
We cut ours back a bit.
Well, all the movies you just buy off Apple TV or something if you want them.
Yeah.
Like, why would you, it's not like you're going, oh, great, I can watch this because it's on Foxtel and you can get it. Yeah. I guess Westworld and a couple of those who are exclusive to Foxtel.
Yeah, but, there's not that many.
No.
We cut back a lot of our Foxtel because we're just going, there's probably a dozen or 2 dozen channels that I didn't even know existed and we never watched.
So do you just have the sports package?
We've got a sports package and a bit of news and a bit of the end. We've got some of the movie channels. We even canned some of those. You watch Netflix or any of the other streaming things that are available.
And you can online, like I said, go to the through Apple or Google. You can get any movie you want. It's not like you're going, without Foxtel I can't watch this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's bizarre, isn't it? It's just a really bizarre thing with sport. So whether that changes. Andrew Byrne wrote in, I put this in because we had about 1,000 questions about this.
Yeah.
Who is more successful, the Victorian Liberal Party or Cricket Australia?
Oh.
There's a lot of the questions were getting stuck into the asking our opinions on the Victorian election through the prism of sport.
I mean, you'd have to say which organisation is more crying out for leadership, Cricket Australia or the Victorian Liberals?
Well, I was at a wedding on Saturday night when the election results coming in, but I was checking the phone occasionally, and I was thinking, this is going to be. I can't do this all night during the wedding. And then I suddenly went, well, I won't have to because it's over.
Yeah, it's finished.
And it reminded me the sense of the one-sidedness of obviously the prelim between the Eagles and Melbourne, where it was within 10 minutes of it starting, it was over. Yeah. And then the only reason to watch was how bad can this actually get?
To see how horrific the final result will be. Like if you're an Eagles supporter or a Labor supporter in this case, it was worth watching because it was just fun and you suddenly didn't feel any pressure. But for everyone else, it was just like watching a car accident. Oh, it was. I mean, I love a good election night and just sit there and watch it, see how it pans out. But I was the same thing. They start the count at 6 o'clock. Yeah. By 6:30, I'm thinking, what's on Netflix? And the only thing of interest I found was that a bit later in the night when I discovered that the seat of Brighton, which could, if you could get more Liberal Party than the seat of Brighton, there isn't one.
Yeah, from those not from Victoria, Brighton is always mockingly described as Brighton because it is true and true.
Yeah, it's
central.
It's
it is a very well off
double bay of Melbourne or what's...
that's a good example. So the idea that it almost went to Labor. Everybody
drives a BMW and all the women wear 2XU bloody workout gear all day while they're picking their kids up from Furbank or Brighton Grammar. So the point being, you could not get a more Liberal seat, and they've never lost it in 100 and something years, but they nearly lost it on Saturday night to a 19-year-old kid who just put his hand up like 5 minutes before the election.
The one thing that did strike me with this where Andrew's asking, comparing them and Cricket Australia, it's reminding me a bit like, and it's been various political parties over the time, but at the moment, it's the Victorian Liberals and the federal Liberals, you'd say, are in this position
they're just
at the moment.
Bad.
You got Cricket Australia, but also the banks at the moment. It's his ability for people who are supposedly very bright to be tone deaf to what everyone else knows and is telling them. Yeah. Just to be absolutely, and it's not, and Sporting, Cricket Australia have done it. It's not limited to political parties. It's sporting institutions. It
seems to be across the board.
It's like AFL with AFLX. Like they go, well, everyone went, we don't want this and we don't care for it, and they're going, yes, you do. And we're like, no, we just don't.
In a lot of regards, right across the board in all sorts of areas, and you put this down to social media or whatever, as we say, putting this out on a podcast, is that people just, now they won't be told or they won't listen to anything, and everyone, no matter what their opinion is or whatever they do, they're right, and anyone else is not only wrong but a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And the Liberals are finding this out the hard way, as you say.
Yeah.
And the AFL, the same with AFLX, Cricket Australia.
But both of them, they all, like Cricket Australia, were like this. They reacted with surprise. Like when that report came in, they acted like, what was common knowledge to every cricket fan.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, you guys think this, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, and they were like genuinely, and they were shocked that it didn't all just go away.
Genuinely smart people, but
you'd think they're meant to be,
and drag kicking and screaming into
reality.
A reaction. It's like David Peaver at Cricket Australia. I mean, he snuck this report out, and then got a hell of a shock when everyone said, "You know what, mate? It might be time for you to go."
Yeah, he was like, "What?
Me? Who, me?"
What?
Yeah, mate, you out on and take your Pat Howard and take your Ben Mafia with you. Yeah.
Andy said, does someone need to explain to the Victorian Liberals that tanking doesn't work the same way for elections as it does for AFL draft picks?
Oh, don't try and explain that to them.
Do you think that
Don't let him go down that path.
I'm all for making politics more like sport.
Yeah.
You know, turn the pre-selection process into like a draft. You know, and you know how people have been drafted to Gold Coast, and you can. One of the fun bits of watching the AFL draft is the reaction of the parents when the kids got drafted to Gold Coast, which they look like very unhappy.
Yeah.
Imagine that any political party could draft you. If you wanted to become a politician, you didn't get to pick on your morals. You just got drafted. Yeah. And people are like, oh, I've been drafted by Clive Palmer.
I was just about to say, how would you feel if, you've got up there,
the Palmer United.
Clive Palmer handing you a jumper with his face on it.
With the number one pick of the draft.
Going to the United Australia Party.
Or someone gets drafted by the Libs and they're like, oh, I've always dreamt of playing for the Libs. One day, this is a dream come true. Yeah. So that would be a good way to actually fix it, I think, and give priority
smart
picks.
Asylum young kid of son or daughter of an asylum seeker. You've been drafted by Pauline Hanson's one name. Oh, beauty. Yeah.
Actually, it would be a lot funnier.
Yeah, it would be.
There's Pauline having to grimace as she's, posing with an African.
A Somalian.
And she's like, you're part of a gang.
We're trying to wipe you out.
Yeah, why are you joining us?
But don't let the Liberals think that tanking's a good idea. They're silly enough to go with it at the moment.
I tell you what, there's a few, I found this with the Cricket Australia, just going back to Andrew's point, and it's like everything, they're doing everything wrong. They need to do the George Costanza. Yeah. Do the complete opposite of everything you're doing. Because that is you know what I mean? Like, it can't be worse.
No, exactly.
Everything we're doing is not resonating. Yeah. So just change the whole thing. Daniel Kennedy said, if the seat of Hawthorn, which is a very well-off seat, falls, and a very Liberal safe seat, falls to Labor, and there's a chance that could have happened. I think it's getting a bit closer to looking like Libs might get up. But does that mean that Jeff Kennett can no longer be president?
I think you're grasping at straws a bit there, Daniel.
Although I like the idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea that... Okay, so all AFL club presidents now have to come from the winning party side that they were originally maybe drafted from.
Yeah, I think
it's sort of not dissimilar to the AFL draft.
No, very similar. We also had, just talking of Pat Howard before, Ross Green wrote in, what are the odds of Pat Howard getting a job at the AFL? Even money, he suggests.
Yeah, maybe not quite even, but at shorter odds than Winks, I would have thought.
That is the danger of a Pat Howard being out there, is your club could recruit him.
Yeah.
I mean, St Kilda have gone out and got Gubby, Allen and Simon Lethley. So he'd fit in. And
Billy Slater, don't forget. He'll make all the difference.
So it would make a lot of sense if you suddenly heard St Kilda had hired Pat Howard as their high performance manager. You'd think
he'll end up at Gold Coast or something.
You'd think he's based on the divisive nature, but the way those administrators work.
Those blokes he's one of these guys who continually, as I say, fall up the ladder.
Yeah.
Despite the laws of gravity and good sense, they fall up the ladder rather than down.
It is amazing to see where he'll end up. Final question. Snert Underpant wrote in, has there ever been a better name than Irving Mosquito?
Maybe Snert Underpant.
This Irving Mosquito, I was watching his highlights. It is a cracker, isn't it? It's a great name, but the amount of media for a kid that's just been, he wasn't the number one draft pick. He was like, and I genuinely wish him all the best, but I've if he's not any good, the amount that Essendon and the AFL and the media just pouring attention because he's meant to be quite an exciting player and energetic, and then also got a very cool name. Yeah. You go, I hope this kid's good.
Yeah. Oh, I hope he is too.
Because they are just giving him so much coverage. Yeah. And I feel like if he doesn't perform, the fall is going to be... Because it's not his fault, but people act like it will be.
They're going to gun down on old Mozzie real quick.
It is one of the better names, although my favourite sporting name was the American swimmer Misty Hyman.
Yes, that was very good.
That's got to be my favourite of all time.
I was always a big fan of NFL wide receiver Webster Slaughter. That was a good name. But Irving Mosquito's got to be right up there, you'd have to say.
Oh, right up there. Terrific. Do you want to pick a question?
I'll leave it to you this week, I think.
Oh, thanks. Well, let me quickly look then. You've thrown me.
Oh.
Let's go with... Where was it? I think we'll go with...
the shuffling of papers.
Sam Thrunk for his one
Sam,
about the floor in Cricket Australia's TV thing. And I've got the last of the T-shirts to send out, which is going back a while, but I'll get all those done. Now, we should just plug again our...
live show
next
Thursday, the 6th of December in Melbourne at the Commercial Club Hotel in Nicholson Street, Fitzroy.
What time's it kicking off?
Kick off about 8. Get there between 7:30, have a couple of beers and grab a seat down the front. Well, hopefully we might have...
Tickets at the door, $10.
Tickets at the door,
very casual.
$10 to get in, very cash. And it's a great pub. It's one of Melbourne's great pubs.
Too, at that pub.
Yeah, you can get good food there. We'll be there and hopefully we'll try and ring up a couple of our idiot mates and get them down there as well and have a bit of a chat on the mic.
Excellent. We'll see everyone there.